where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action. A very warm good afternoon from Asian College of Teachers. We once again welcome you to yet another special show, Facebook live session from Asian College of Teachers and myself, Shaunak. We all know what the lines have been from Rabindranath Tagore, and today we are really honored to have with us a person whose mind is just as fearless as those lines recited by Tagore, and he had held his head always high. A person who has been daunting and fearless in his efforts and has been idolized as a mentor and a pathfinder by many. A person whose effort and skills have been an eye opener to thousands of people. And yes, we are talking of the person, Dr. Sanjiv Chakroborty. Well, the introduction of Sir goes like he's a dedicated professional, more than 26 plus years of experience in helping education business thrive and develop. He has been working extensively in corporate training and teaching with focus on curriculum, instructional development, organizational development, and change management. He has focused, service driven, goal oriented, enterprising, work ethic, and solid integrity. As far as the academics of Dr. Sanjiv is concerned, he is a PhD in management studies from University of Hertfordshire, United Kingdom. He is also a master's in business administration, a master of education in curriculum instruction. He has been Chartered Institute of Personnel Management UK, has been Foundation Award in preparing and designing learning and development activities, full-time residential program in London and UK. He has been certified training design and has been delivering from Training Foundation from British Institute of Learning. And most importantly, he has founded Asian College of Teachers in the year 2007, and onward it goes. A very warm welcome to Sir from all the members of Asian College of Teachers. Very good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Shaunak. Very good afternoon to everyone, all the viewers. I think it's a great opportunity. I think I'm doing this first time. So, if I panic, manage it, okay?
So that's fine. So just for people who are joining in right now, we have the founder CEO of Asian College of Teachers, Dr. Sanjiv, joining directly us from Thailand. We would be talking primarily, just to let the viewers know about the agenda, we would be talking about the topic of what could be the profession of teaching and beyond. So we would harp on certain topics, which is not only will be on teaching and teaching methodologies, but it would be something which is teaching and beyond. So that is something we will know. Sir will enlighten us, enrich us with the different new pedagogies and scenarios which will take us the show on and will help us to know. So, sir, as far as the statistics is concerned, UNESCO stated that in the next 14 years, countries must recruit around 68.8 million teachers to provide every child with primary and secondary education. And we know that given the statistics, we are not in a position in which we can address the problem. So if you can just throw some light on how we can meet this dearth of qualified teachers.
Well, yes, the requirement is very high. We know that, but it's just like not that number only. I'm also worried about the gaps of retiring teachers, because in next 10 years there will be a huge number of teachers who are going to retire, and there is one more gap where we find a lot of teachers who are leaving the profession. So when they move out, that actually increases the gap. And definitely the third one is more important. Like we say that there is a teacher requirement, but I think it's more important to understand that we need more competent teachers. So if you look at the entire the gap that we were talking about, to fill up with competent teachers, it will be a huge, massive challenge. um, I can't offer a remedy for that, but I can just tell you what organizations, schools, institutions should look at. I think the first thing would be to look at retaining teachers. Because as I say, we find that last decade there has been a lot of people who moved out from this profession. So it's kind of holding the fort first. So schools have to really gear up, motivate teachers to make sure that they stay. Secondly, as I mentioned, there is or there will be a lot of teachers who are going to retire in next 10 years. So using or utilizing their experience and skill um, to train and develop more new teachers would be one big agenda to kind of reduce this gap, as I say. And the third one, recruiting new teachers. I mean, it will be more of looking at something a little better than what teaching as a career currently, offers to most. Basically, it's same for most of the countries in Asia. In Europe, the scenario is a little different, but when it comes to Asia, I think teachers needs to be a little more promoted. The idea of career in teaching needs to be promoted. I think that will make more people into this profession, get into this profession. So I think these are few things that we all have to follow to bridge the gap.
So when you talk about like the teachers need to be promoted, especially to the Asian part, what actually you mean by that? Can you just cite an example like what it would be?
Well, people who are in teaching of the last 20, 25 years, they were teachers at heart. I think we know that. People who choose to take this profession because they love. Now, with love, the problem is we may not be able to fill up that number. So that means we have to ask um, people who don't think teaching by heart, but probably look at teaching as a profession. So to be able to do that, we have to give them better perks. We have to give them better recognition. So I think it comes in that package. Organizations into education currently should look a little, further than what they look at teaching as a profession. So until there is a lot of motivation, until there is a lot of discussion, until there is a lot of talk about teaching as a profession, I don't see a lot of pressure coming into this profession. So I think that's exactly what I mean.
Right. So what you were telling, sir, that love and passion combined with the practicality will give forward that thing. So as you told that this actually brings like as we are discussing, I heard you coin this term a lot of time, feed forward, the feed forward method of developing skills. So if you can just let us know a little bit more that what actually is feed forward. We know about feedback, which is a very common term, but feed forward is equally important.
Yeah, I think when we are talking about developing teaching skills, most of the schools only focus on developing instruction skills, or delivery skills, or curriculum skills, or subject matter skills. I think the entire development has changed now. If you look at human resource development here, no matter whether they are a teacher or they are an employee in organization. So now the entire development has become both intrinsic and extrinsic. So I think schools have to start focusing a lot into intrinsic development. Intrinsic development, to me, it's basically a framework where growth as teacher, career in teaching, the roadmap for teaching, developing teachers, all these needs to be discussed with the teachers. So it should not be like you just ask them to come and join the profession and then throw them into the class and it's over. I think when I say feed forward, it's basically to be with them, to groom them, to let them know what is coming up, and try to cater to their intrinsic, ideas like motivation, reducing the burnouts, reducing the stress, looking at their well-beings. So I think when we look at teacher as a resource, teacher as a human resource, I think these are the things that people would be more focused on. So, the way the principal or the vice principal or the school board or the sponsor give feedback to the teachers, I think that's something which is going to be major now for teachers to sustain and retain in a school.
Right. So, sir, this automatically brings us, like, when we talk of feed forward and these things which had developing the skills, the gap that we find between the theory and the practice. Like, you might tell us more, that as far as I know the Indian part, but European and the Southeast Asian part, like how we can address this. Is still the international scenario also suffers from this kind of a gap between theory and the practice?
It's not only in teaching profession. I think when we are talking about these gaps, it's in every profession, the theory and the practice. Uh, the problem right now with education is we have the 18th century teachers with 19th century curriculum with 21st century students. I think that's where basically we have this theory practice problem. I think things have changed now. It's more about practice and then theory. If you look at MBA, for example, they say that you join a company first, you learn everything, and then you do a MBA. So it's kind of you look at the practice and then see what theory can support those. I think teaching as a profession or teaching as a career, I think schools should be more focused on developing their teachers on an ongoing basis, on a regular basis, than to completely depend on institutions like us or a B.Ed college. I think the development part will be there, and that's where the theory and practice, will come in play, and people will be able to understand that what to practice, how much to practice, and what to learn to back up those practice, the theory part of it.
Right. So, as you have rightly told, that a person should join the company, learn everything, don't go back to the theory part. This can be a kind of a role model for teaching industry also.
It is. It is. It is more
Okay.
because every teacher has their own teaching style. Every teacher have their own way of understanding their own students. So it's, I mean, too early for them to tell them that this is the theory behind the practical, so you should follow this. I think it shouldn't be like that. You are into learner centric teaching now, because you're not doing teaching for the sake of dumping the subject matter to a student. Here it's your centricity has changed. So in that case, I think it's more important that we focus on the practical than come back to the theories.
Okay. So, this obviously leads to the next part, that how we can improve the modules, like merging the theory and the practice. If you can just give a few examples, typically to the international market, and how it should go like.
Are you talking about teacher training or you're talking about teacher development?
Teacher development, how we can merge them, and obviously once the teacher is developed, then only the modules will be developed.
Yeah, no. See, if you look at teaching colleges or teaching universities or teaching degrees, um, the curriculum is the core here, and I guess it's the way you teach the teachers in those teaching colleges reflects on how they come back and teach to the students. The way you adapt the methods, the way you evaluate them, the way you give them the feedback, those finally are the learnings which they come and do with their own students. So I think the core of this is the instruction design for any teaching college, whether they're into a bachelor's, master's, or vocational teaching development courses. So the core is the structure that you create, the way you create your teacher, the way you design the curriculum. I think that will be prime. So I think if there is any transformation to take place, that's the place to take the transformation. That's the instruction design for teachers, the way it's been planned and executed by teaching colleges.
Right. So, like, as we are talking, I'll just recall once more for those who are joining in late. We are in conversation with Dr. Sanjiv Chakroborty, the CEO, founder of Asian College of Teachers, joining us live from Thailand. We have been talking about teaching development, how we can, address the dearth of teachers, and how we can practice the modules merging with theory and practice. Sir, I have noticed this, as with this post COVID-19 which has come up. Like in case with my daughter, I have also seen that when there were school days, they used to go to a school. Say for example, it can be 11 to 4. Then they come back happily, do their homework, rest, and then go back to school. Now with this online part coming up, I have seen that almost like they and their parents are always studying. It is always going on because there is practically no tiffin hours or when they can go out and coming by bars gossiping. So actually that brings into kind of a lack of time or planning. So they are getting their classes and then the assignments coming through app. Both for the teachers and for the candidate, this has become, sir, a very crunch time. Like as you were talking about burnouts, I think this is the time when the burnouts will be more. So how can we, both the students and the teachers, how we can plan out the lack of timing and strategize things?
Yeah, it's a burning problem. And in fact, I have come across some teachers who said that when they have to actually convert the entire program into online, they said that we feel like first year in teaching again because they have to redo a lot of things the way they used to do before. So that definitely is challenging and really time consuming, and everything had to happen very fast because they were not prepared, mentally not prepared, structurally not prepared. So they had to do everything at this point. But I think it was crisis, and a lot of schools have actually done real great job. Even I know schools in India have done really great job, really doing good. They have been able to engage. They have been able to complete their syllabus. They've been able to prepare students for the exams. They're doing perfect job. If you talk about how to overcome this, I think it's just like as the experience, things are going to get better as schools are planning to reopen in India. At the same time, I think even if that is delayed a bit, even schools decide to go on a blended model, like a few days in the classroom and few days from home. Those will give a little more time to the teachers to kind of adapt. And at the same, I think the challenging time is over for them. They have already done that what they were expected to do. So I guess right now, as per students are concerned, I know a lot of them started enjoying the way it is. Probably your daughter also, and also teachers are enjoying. I know teachers who could kind of work multiple things together at one point. Yeah, everything has gone, in a different direction. I think that's for everything. It's not only for teachers and teaching. So I think right now, pretty much settled with what things are going around. So there isn't any a magic stick to actually work out on this. I think it's just like we adapt as it comes and we learn how we do it, and it's about our best practices. So my appeal to teachers would be to share your best practices with others, so that others who are actually facing this problem can overcome this, faster.
Right, and I have seen that there is a lot of performance pressure from the school administrators which are coming up in this current online scenario. So, what would you suggest, sir? Like this would also, mold itself with the passage of time.
Yeah, it's like challenging time for everyone. You understand that, even for corporates, business, manufacturing, service. Everyone have actually suffered this time. So I think, yeah, like if you say that there are a lot of pressure from the administration, they are also under pressure. Even they also don't know how to do it, so they're also coping up. Because I think in one century you get one pandemic, and that we are fortunate and unfortunate that we are in this. But I think that is a good test for us. We learn a lot with this. I think going forward, a lot of schools have realized that they can work out on online teaching even during their summer vacations, winter vacations, taking assignments, um, reducing the pressure of in-class evaluation, in-class assignments. So I think a lot of schools will work smartly and look at this as a model for future.
Right. Sir, I will come to the most important question. I think there will be a lot of viewers who have been waiting to get the answers because you have been into the international market job scenario. It is often a saying that what we call the eternal, I would say, I won't say tussle, it is a tug of war between getting a job abroad. Now, when I talk of taking a job abroad, I mean to say either you are competent enough that you are getting a job abroad, and the overcoming with the native and the non-native. So, sir, my first question would be, what are the essential prerequisites, if I make them like one, two, three, four, as per you with so many years of experience? What would be the few essential prerequisites to find out a job abroad? And I think viewers must be waiting for your answer because this is so pertinent.
And I actually have got this question, last 10 years, more than 100 times. Probably my answer will be more refined now because I know what answer they're all expecting. I think the first and the foremost thing is that you have to prepare is your mind. There's nothing else, because everything starts with there. Because there will be time that you're frustrated. There will be time things are not happening. There'll be time things are getting delayed. So I think until you kind of make sure that you are at control, that you can manage your mind with this. I think that will be the first most important thing. Now, just leaving aside teaching career or teaching job, like if you are looking for a job internationally for any kind of profession, like no matter what it is, whether it is in business, engineering, quality, whatever you talk about, there will be challenge, isn't it? So there will be bottlenecks, there will be problems, there will be issues. And the first thing you have to keep in mind, if a country is trying to take you, they will only take you when they know that they can't find that in their own country. So you
Very
have
true.
to accept that if they don't have a person in your caliber at their country, then only they're coming to you, otherwise not. I mean, won't you do that for your own country? So you immediately become the second choice. You have to keep that in mind, that you are a second choice. So it's not about native, non-native. It's about second choice. Now, for you, it's a non-native, so you say it's a second choice version B. The version A is native as a second choice, but you still as a second choice. Now, when it comes to job, I think 70% of trying, 30% of luck. 70% of trying will include your mental framework, your consistency level, your interest level to be there, and how much you're flexible about it. So I think these are not related to the jobs. It's related to grooming yourself to accept what happens and what comes your way, and 30% will be luck. So I think there are a lot of other tricks that a lot of other people have said. I think if you just go for a YouTube video, you will know everything. People saying what to do, how to prepare, what should you have, what you don't have. So there's no point of actually repeating those. I would rather say that first ask this question to yourself, that why would someone hire you? I mean, that will be the first question to ask. And if you know that you have these one, two, three, four things for which they will hire you, then ask the second question: is there any other people who also have those one, two, three, four things? And if it is so, then the third question to you, that then can you feature your specialization in the resume, in the interview, in the video that you make, so that people, schools want to take you. So I think we have to take this angle into consideration than the qualification angle, the certification angle, the preparation angle, and how good you know the subject matter angle. I think all those will matter only when you could sit in front of the sponsor or the person who is going to take your interview. But before that, you have to groom yourself, your mind, and ask these questions, that whether you're ready, whether you can do it, whether this is what you want to do, whether you know that you will be able to do it, and definitely, as I said, that you are always the second choice.
Right. So, if I may summarize, like sir, what you have told, that it is not a question of native or non-native. It is a question of second choice and mentally how are you prepared. So, sir, when like I get questions from students regarding the qualifications, regarding the certificate, whether it is an Asian college or something, I would like to ask you that the certificate. When we talk, the problem starts with choices. You have so many choices. So, which one to pick up? So, regarding this, if you can just tell us that how individual, whether it is a fresher or experience, whatever, would like to prepare in terms of the academic part, and how it would take up. What would be the right choice in terms of getting the paperwork or the qualifications done?
Well, um, I mean, it's a difficult question. In fact, what I would like to answer here is um, the certificate matters, but that matters only to get the entry. Nothing more than that, because your performance in the class will let you be in that profession for a while. If you can't perform, your certificate will be just like as just your entry to the interview, nothing more than that. And I think that's same for every profession, as I keep saying that, like comparing teaching with every profession for this reason, so that a lot of people come up with teaching jobs and come up with this career. It's not so different. Certificate matters. If I am in the interview board, I will try to see what strikes me will be what kind of background you have. I think I will rather look at that, because these days schools are really focusing on that. If I'm talking about Asia Pacific, my experience and my connections are mostly with the Asia Pacific schools, and I see they are more interested to know what kind of career you had. Like if you were in engineering, if you were in chemicals, physics, math, science, business, development, strategies, whatever it is, they have been marking those very, very minutely. And I am happy that this is happening. Why? Because they come with a lot of experience. So they are not looking for teachers who start their career as teachers only. They're looking for people who comes with some subject matter. They have worked in that some subject matter. So if someone who is engineer wants to apply for a science teacher, I think if I am the person, I see that what's happening with all the other schools also. They would put a tick there. A person who comes with a business background or worked in organization for 5, 6, 7, or 10 years, they have a tick there because they feel this person can connect the academics with the real life, and they'll be able to talk a lot about experience. Mostly if you look at secondary and post secondary levels, schools are focusing more on teachers who have some background in working, probably in organizations and corporates. If you look at pure school teachers who just join us teaching, they would be rather focusing on young learner teaching. I mean, teaching, pre and primary level, because that's where more than your experience, your consistency is important. And here also, I have found a tick mark with mothers. I mean, if you have applied as a teacher and you have been a mother and your kid probably 6, 7, 8, or 10 years, that means you have already know how to deal with this. So there is a tick mark there also. So I mean, that's how it should be, and I like this idea.
So, if you, sir, when you're telling that the schools are preferring some kind of a background, be it physics, business, industry, that means that somebody who is like it leads to two things. One is that do the subject teachers of any discipline has now a direct role to play as a teacher? One. Second is that that means the mid-career shift from a particular domain to another becomes easier.
Yes. Yes. I think I go with the second one. Um, as I say, you are a second choice. So if you're a second choice, the first thing they would look at is your experience. If you are a mid career changer, they're happy, because a lot of teachers are also moving out from teaching to other industries. So
Right.
they're very welcoming for people who are coming in from other industry to teaching. If you look at the international school market now, if I talk about specifically Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, I mean, it's full of people who have been in corporates. Mostly the international schools are recruiting them. And I'm happy that, and what they're doing is, even they're not asking for certificates. They say that you come and join if you like, if you think that you can settle down. Is what my message will be to all of you. If you think you love teaching, then you look for a serious, teaching, qualification which helps you to grow there. So I think
Okay.
even like the whole idea of Asian College of Teachers was actually that. Like we never said that we want to make you a proficient, great teacher. I mean, that never happens through teaching schools. We said that come to us, start off with that, see whether you like this profession, see whether you can adapt, grasp the basics, go back to the school, teach sometimes, see if it is really good, if it's something you want to stick to. If it is so, then you go and go for a master's program or probably a higher end teaching program just for your own career.
Right. So that is a good news. I think I also get a lot of questions that I'm not coming from a teaching background. I'm coming from banking industry. A lot of students before they join the course or talk of placement. That means, as we have been learning from Sir, that there is no problem as such if you are quite good and you have certain relevant any kind of an background, and then you can get into teaching. Right. So and this next question, which is quite very common, I get it from the students, is that there are certain countries who would mentally or in general would accept non-natives, and there are certain countries who are very staunch. In the recent past, what I have seen is that huge amount of students are now very prone to move towards South Korea. I don't know the specific reason, but it can be a specific reason. They all move into South Korea's 9 out of 10 telephone calls. I want to move to South Korea. So, what would be your advice in mentally those who are accepting non-natives, somebody who are very staunch?
But my answer to this is there is no country which staunch. Basically, the schools and their
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
If I tell you the background of this taking native and non-native, it has nothing to do with how they feel about it. It's everything to do about how they have experienced a non-native and how they've experienced a native. So if you are asking a question which is more specific to Indian, Indian crowd or Indians who are trying to move abroad to teach, it is all about the experience that the schools have, because there are schools who have excellent experience with Indian teachers because very dedicated, very hardworking, very good with kids. Um, they know how to respect. They understand what education is, but there are minus points. I mean, as there are pros, there will be cons also. So the minus point will be heavy accent or heavy MTI, whatever you call it. Two will be very headstrong. I mean, I keep hearing this from many schools that they are headstrong, like they have come with the idea they want to just stay there. They don't want to evolve. They don't want to adapt to new things. And the third thing is the flexibility of the Indian teachers, flexibility in terms of picking up the place they want to work, the nearby markets, food, availability of social life. So it's just like a package. It's not just like one straight line that we say this is how it is. So if people are trying to go to Korea, I don't know why they are, because going to Korea is not easy because of the visa restrictions. Now, when you talk about visa restrictions, again, schools has nothing to do here. It's
Right.
it's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's the diplomatic relationship which will matter. So it's no point to blame schools here about visas and not getting through with Western, competitive with the native and the non-native. It's just like we have not been able to have good diplomatic relationships, or we've not built up those kind of diplomatic relations. Like currently in Thailand, there has been a huge, plus of Indian teachers coming here because the relationship with Indo-Thai Chamber of Commerce and Thai Chamber of Commerce has improved drastically over the last 3 years. Like anyone is following that will understand. Same to do with Vietnam, Indonesia. I think that's where it matters. So it's not about a country staunch that no, we will not take non-native. I think the schools don't decide. To be very honest, it's the experience of the school that decides. I think every school wants to have good teacher. That's their first priority. The second priority is who they are from and where they are from. And the third priority would be whether there are good diplomatic relationship, visas are easy or not. So I think we have to consider all this as a package. There is not like one simple thing.
Right. So we have got a very pertinent question coming. I would like to take it.
Yeah.
Anushri is asking, Sir, today there is a rush. Who wants to settle abroad? What will you say taking ESL teacher career as a platform for the same?
It's not a rush today. It has been every time. Again, if it is a specific to Indians, we love to go and settle abroad. So that rush has been always there. Um, there has been a lot of discussions, talks about this in past, and it's the same thing that um, you know whether it's a ESL career or any other career that you're looking at. If I just specifically answer, I think it would be like there are jobs, I know that, but I don't know if that job is meant for you or not. So it's just like you have to keep trying, and if you try, I think that if that is consistent and deliberate and over a period of time, there is success. And I know there are people who have got through this not just because they're great teachers. I think they're great in mind in planning and managing their minds, and their flexibilities around adapting any job coming their way.
Right. So I think, Anusha, you got your answer. What sir told, that it has been an eternal rush, so it is nothing something new. Sir, I have also seen that when we speak about international scenario, even if you talk of England, Scotland, different areas, Somerset, etc., they too have a kind of an accent problem. Like certain areas have a very heavy accent. So it is not an accent problem only with Indians. So when we talk of communication playing an important role in shaping up not only an ESL career but a teaching career, what would you what would be your views in order to communicate to remove the mother tongue influence or to have a neutral accent?
Yeah, I think the first would be to have a neutral accent. That will be the most important thing. And secondly, I don't say communication, I would say effective communication, because that is what mostly schools look at, that whether you can communicate the way the children will understand. Because
Right.
if your communication has been, I mean, this is also one problem, Shaunak, which I think a lot of schools do realize, that when they have people coming from a corporate background coming to schools and teach, they know how to talk, but they don't know how to talk to children.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
the art of effective communication with children will be the most important factor here, and definitely the neutral accent.
Right. Sir, one question which also keeps on coming, like people who are joining for a mid-career change post 50, 50, 52 plus, do you think that age, how does it play as a bottleneck or as a problem in terms of taking career ahead?
Not at all. In fact, 9 out of 10 government schools in rural areas prefer those kind of teachers. I
Right.
mean, the reason is very very clear, because they want to have matured teachers there who can adapt the rural environment. That is one. Two is, they have, if they're school who is actually who teach grade 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like mostly up to high school level, they prefer mature teachers, because they know that there's a lot of life lesson that is still given to the students, not just your subject matter. So I think if, like, even 5 years back, I remember when we were recruiting a lot of teachers in Thailand, mostly the government schools, the public schools. I think this was one thing that they were trying to highlight, that they need more mature teachers than first timers.
Okay. So we have a question coming up from Shivangi. She's asking, what do you think about the idea of schoolcations and how it is taking over education?
Well, I think this will take a little time, and I'm not saying this is not going to happen. Um, Education overall is transforming. We can see that the transformation is taking place. In fact, this post-COVID era that we are going to get into in next, 2, 3 or 5 years, there will be a huge transformation. One of the highlight of this transformation would be the open learning system. I mean, where learning is not, you know, in a classroom. It's like you can learn from everywhere, and that only started happening. Whether it is accidental or deliberate, we are in that situation already, where students have been asked to go and research websites to create your own assignments, and discuss that with your peers, and then create a final work and then submit it back. So that has already started shaping up. We can see that. So there is an impact to this, both positively and not so positively, but we have to see how that is transforming. The second thing that is happening is, um, students already understand what is working from home now, because they see their parents now working from home, and
Right.
yet they can do that effectively. Yet there is no problem from their boss side, or there is no problem in the organization. So they get to see that the style of working is changing. So they get to see the style of education is changing, they get to see the style of working is changing, because that's what finally is the correct point, right? That the education that finally gets into work. So I think there is a lot of transformation already happening, and I'm happy that this is one positive thing to pick up with this, entire pandemic happening around this time.
So before I go, we have got another question coming up from Rajati Mukherjee. She is asking, what are the prospects for a master's in English who has a TEFL certificate abroad, and in which countries specifically?
No, it's everywhere. It doesn't matter, where you feel. It completely depends on the kind of school you're targeting. I am not happy to answer about country-specific questions, because, with my experience, I have seen that it has nothing to do with country. It's everything to do with the school board, and the experience the school had with international students or international teachers. So it completely depends on that. With your masters of English, if your communication, or your communication to children, that's what, to be more precise, is good, and with a TEFL certificate, you can actually make it to any school. It just depends where you want to go. But again, if you want to go to England, you want to go to Canada, you want to go to US, ask this question that I said again, like, why will they take you? First question. Don't they have their own people to do it? So they will only choose you only if that is already filled in. If not, then only, I mean, they will try to look at you. So it's always good to start with a fresh place where there is a huge requirement. A place like, I think a lot of people ignore Indonesia. I don't know why. There's a huge demand there. The population is growing, number of schools growing, economic development is better than many other countries now, and Vietnam. And even for that case, in another 5 years, Burma and Yangon will be one place, one hot place for a lot of teachers. Why? Because these are new countries emerging, and they're great. They're good schools, they're supportive, they want teachers to stay, they know how to retain you, they know how to take care of you, compared to those countries where they have been dealing with native English and all this for a long, long time. So it always makes sense if you go to this kind of place, at least to start your teaching career, be there for a year, the experience will come, and then you keep moving on. You can, there's no limitation in kind of moving on.
Absolutely. So, just a note to the viewers, this is something I marked it as a point that in order to go for those who are trying, instead of trying out countries like Canada, France, Germany, and Italy, what Sir is suggesting is that let us concentrate which are going countries where the competition is less, and yet they care you as a teacher, as a human being, and from there you can take it on. Sir, I have also found that one scenario when we talk and when people talk about the international job scenario, automatically, as you told, that there is a shift in the mental state. I mean to say, finding out a job in India, not typical of the home country, but when you go abroad. So a lot of factors which play. So I would just like to tell you, if you can mention in few points that what is the, apart from the academics and the communication is the people have, what is actually the bottleneck, like what actually if I talk of India, like what actually makes the Indian think twice, or what was the reason that we are not getting the right call or the right job as far as the international market is concerned?
I think it's just like we are not trying the right place and
Okay.
in the right time. Because you have to know the semesters and the time when they have their breaks, when they recruit. the what is their starting time, what is their break time. So we have to be aware of all this. That's the first thing. The second thing would be a lot of us actually keeps on sending resume, taking the email IDs and blasting that. Basically, in one email you probably send 100 schools. If I am a school and I see that you have applied to 100 schools, I don't even look at your resume. So they know
True.
you're not making any specific attempt here. So I think it has to be a little more personalized, specific attempt, addressing to the school, telling them why you want to go to their school, or why you want to go and stay in their country, or why you want to be in that particular city. Um, I think you have to start giving importance to small things now.
Small
Just because,
places. Right.
just because there are so many others also trying it. So if you want to emerge differently, then you have to ensure that you're doing something different. Not everyone else is doing, because there will be 2,000 TEFL graduates who are doing the same thing. So I think
True.
doing a little research and trying to connect the school through the proper channel would be the most important thing. If it is Asia Pacific, it becomes a little easier, because if you tell them that, okay, I'm going to visit you and I'm going to meet you in the next 1 month's time to have a face-to-face interview to gauge that whether I can go and really, take care of your school, take care of your students or not. I mean, that's what the schools like. They want to see, how much you're interested. Because if it comes to resume, a school HR probably is getting 100 resume a day. So why is it that they will pick you up, right? Because with that paper, they can't make out who you are and what best you have, what offer you have for them. So I think when you make it a little more specific, minute details matters here.
So you would be suggesting, sir, to stay there and apply for jobs rather than applying from a remote place?
You can apply, and then you say that I'm planning to go there, and I'm planning to go and have interviews and have face-to-face discussions around that. So that helps if you're trying that in Asia Pacific. Right now that is not suggested, because anyway, there are travel restrictions already. So I would
True. True.
request, if you are really sending a lot of resumes in this Asia Pacific, I mean, it won't work now, because schools aren't recruiting internationally, because they know that the visa restrictions are there, flights are not flying. So I think you have to just wait a bit. Now, my suggestion is, during this time when you're already waiting, it makes sense that, see if you can upgrade yourself to few more things, probably a little more specialized area, a little more tricks and tools. I mean, that is something that you can use it handy when it comes to the time when they start recruiting. Find out more about the country that you are applying to, the culture, the few points that you can talk about it. So I think it's a good time to do the homework. But once things open up, I can tell this is already discussed everywhere, that there will be a huge requirement, and you understand why. Because 1 year, the students who could start the schools have not been able to start the schools. I'm not talking about students who are already in the school. I'm talking about the fresh enrollments that schools get.
Right.
So it will
Right.
be kind of a huge, huge, huge requirement. So
Huge
yes,
ones.
there will be a lot of opportunities for alumni and students to keep an eye on what is going on. People are not advertising now just for that sake, because they know if they advertise, they'll get a lot of resume, but this is not the time when they can bring in people. So that's one of the reasons why they're not advertising. But the requirements are a lot.
True. And what I would like to, make a point to the viewers, what Sir has told. Even I do talk on this during my session, that if you're sending 50 resumes, one resume to 50 countries, it doesn't make sense. That means customization, changing the resume, doing the research, and for that particular institute, what do you do? Sir, another bottleneck which we face is Canada. Like, if you, as you have been talking, that we should go to the smaller places, there's a huge rush of the students. I don't know whether it's the socio-cultural scenario or whatever. People wants to move to Canada, just like, keeping aside South Korea, Canada. Maybe you can enumerate us the reason, because you have been so many years into the international market. Canada, if you sir tell us a little bit the bottlenecks and what could be the genuine prospects for taking up ESL career in Canada.
Um, Well, my experience would be different with this because Canada will take people who want to spend money in Canada. So until you are actually going and taking education there, which is a bachelor's or master's level, they're not happy to
Oh,
take you. Okay, they want commitments, and the same thing with Australia. Any country where migration is happening, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all the three countries, they will want you to go and take education there in any level. Okay, so uh, it would be advisable to go and do a master's degree there in education or anything that you want to. That is the easiest route. Every other route is very difficult until you have connections, until you have family, until you have friends who can help you. Just by applying to Canada, jobs won't happen. You won't get it.
so the Canada as a country would be interested if you are spending money on on them.
I think why countries do migration is the only reason to do migration is they can earn from that. So they need people.
Right,
I'm not saying they don't, but they need those people who can come and spend there.
right. So you are suggesting that once you go have an education, then you can vertically shift from that education to the country's job. Right.
Yes,
So you have been, yeah. So you have been talking about applying to Asian countries, specifically Indonesia, Bali, Jakarta, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, etc. If I may ask you that, what would be the hindrance? I won't say hindrance, but rather like European countries versus Asian countries, because there are a lot of students who wants to take up an ESL course or a career because they have a fascination, whether true or false, to go into European countries, specifically Canada, France, Germany, etc., to stay. What would be your like? What would be the reason? Like, not the European countries. I mean to say, not strictly, but specifically, you have been suggesting us to work within the Asian part. What would be the difficulties, and what would be the reason for that?
well, I think, as I said, like if you are an experienced teacher already, you have been working in schools for up to 5 years or 5 years plus, and you have done a course in TEFL or anything related to teaching abroad, then I think you can definitely try European countries because they look for a professional and experienced teacher. There are good schools, and definitely there is a chance. But if you are a first-time teacher, you're trying to start your teaching career, trying in European market will be just like a lot of waste of time. I think it would
Okay.
be easier to get through in Asia, start there, be there for a couple of years, and then move. Now, if you have been planning to go to a certain country, like that country is already in your mind, you've already blocked that you want to be in Italy for different reasons. And now you're thinking that by doing the TEFL course or any course which will help you to get a job, I'll use this and go there. Trust me, it doesn't happen like that. You have to understand that, firstly, if you look at people who are going for different schools, whether it's engineering, management, chemical, doctor, whatever you want to, there are millions of people who go and take those courses, but not all those millions can land up in those international market, right? Only few of them do, right? So it's same for here also. The only good thing about this is that you're not spending 4 years and not a fortune of money. So I think there isn't a easy route to this. I feel sad sometimes. Some students they come up and say that, "Sir, I've done this TEFL course, but I didn't get a job abroad." And I said, "Okay, what did you spend?" That I spent 50,000 rupees. I said, "I'm not talking about that spending. I'm talking about how much time did you spend in studying this?" He said, "Sir, I spent only 3 weeks." I said, "Do you think practically this is possible? That you spend 3 weeks and 50,000 and you land up with a job in Italy? Is it possible?" Just ask yourself this question. So I think I keep requesting this to our trainers, counselors, to be very honest and straightforward about this because this doesn't happen. I mean, you have to understand. Um, I think everyone goes to the National School of Drama, but only few people get through Hollywood. Okay,
Right.
so I think it's same. I mean, there isn't any difference here. I mean, those only get through people who are consistent, trying it, keep trying it, hanging around, and then finally get a breakthrough, right? So why do you think this is going to be different here? I mean, it's about every career. It's like that. I mean, there are 100,000 engineering colleges. What about all those engineers coming out? Are they all landing up in Canada tomorrow? Is it happening really? After spending 4 years and probably 8 to 10 lakhs, they can't make it. So how do you think you can make it with a teaching certificate, spending 3 weeks and 50K? I mean, is it really possible?
Very true, very true. So we are almost coming to the end of this program. I would like to ask you one question, sir. Like in Asian college and otherwise, also we get a lot of mid-career changers who are willing to do a course. And as you have rightly told, that it is a known fact that those who are got any relevant experience, the schools are helping. Sir, if I may, ask you that how Asian College ACT would help mid-career to change its path. What would be your views and opinions?
Well, as I said, I think it's. I'm happy that this is happening, and it's not happening now. I think since the time I remember our first course, in 2007, 2008, 2009, when we were recruiting a lot of teachers for Thailand, and that time I remember each semester we used to bring 100, teachers to Thailand, and it was actually 80 to 90% were all mid-career changes, and I'm happy that it's still happening. People really want to come change, because as I said, that I'm unhappy that people who are in teaching trying to move out in corporates. So definitely it make me happy people in corporates are trying to come to come in teaching. Yeah, I'm really happy. So I think schools really value that. So I'm not saying what Asian college is doing here, but I can say that we just try to create the platform for you so that you can come and get the education which is required for you to go and kickstart your career and kickstart your teaching career. And then definitely most of you who are actually middle career changers are matured. You know what you're expecting. Your objectives are very clear. You know how to adapt to things, and you know what happens. Like, you have learned your life lessons, exactly what the schools are looking for. So I think it's just like, be a little consistent, keep trying. I think you have better chance than a lot of other people.
Right, sir. So this question I have asked to almost many principals, head teachers, and I want to know the version from you. Most of the higher education, whether it is university or vocation institutes like ours, and schools converting their courses to virtual learning platforms. So, sir, if you tell us that how it is effective and how things are in future, virtual learning will shape up.
Well, virtual learning is definitely effective. I mean, there will be a mixed view, from different segments. Virtual learning is effective only if you know how to do it. Just because when I see teachers are converting the entire material to online and not thinking that it's different, then it's a problem. So if you actually know how to convert it, because here your engagement has to be different than the way it is in the classroom.
Right.
Your attention span or span of attention is different, so you have to understand those strategies. So just converting the course material that you use in classroom to virtual learning, it doesn't work that way. Secondly, the way you evaluate your students, it's not same, right? The way you evaluate in classroom, you cannot do this here. Like, it has to be different, it has to be more engaging and more interesting. The way you give your feedback to the students is different. So it's not just like the way you give the feedback in classroom and here is different, it's same. So no, the entire package changed. And when you look at virtual teaching, firstly you have to adapt to what exactly virtual learning is all about. To capitalize and utilize it to the most, you have to know different virtual learning strategies. So it's a good idea to look around to see how others are doing, or successful methods that other schools or other teachers have applied and got results. So I
Right.
think definitely it is effective only if you know how to do it. And future, I said this to everyone. I think higher education is definitely going to go much more stronger with online education. I mean, we can see that universities are already doing it because it's easier that way. But school education probably will not try to adapt virtual education a lot, but they'll try to keep it as a backup and keep mixing up with a blended method, going further, which is definitely a good idea.
Right, right, sir. Sir, thank you. Like, it has been a wonderful learning from you. It has been a wonderful session. Before we close down, I would like to tell to the viewers, we have been talking with Sir Dr. Sanjiv, the founder of CEO. We have learned a lot of things. Primarily among them is that everything is in the mind. If you have already fixed up, if you're not a seasoned teacher, it is not advisable that you directly go into the European countries. We are providing a platform through which we are guiding and we are trying to shape up the careers. It is a very good eye opener session today, because for the mid career changers and people who have got a certain knowledge in a particular domain, non teaching, they have got a wonderful career ahead. The international market is not about the market, how things, the school, it is specifically the schools and especially the interrelation between that, and how we are shaping up the career. The apprehensions or fear factor we need to overcome, we need to try. And with all those things, virtual learning is providing a platform for us. Sir, it has been a wonderful learning. I think all the viewers who are there has been enriched. Especially, we get so many questions from the international market, and we already got Anirban set here telling that we will be waiting for more such sessions. And Gauri has already expressed a wonderful thanks to you. Thank you, sir. So it has been a great learning. I, from Asian College, to every point of view, I would like to thank you very much. It has been great learning. It has been a great session. And we really value your time that you took out of your busy schedule to come online live from Thailand and answering us. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. For the Asian College of Teachers, stay tuned, because we are coming up next Wednesday for yet another session, how you can present yourself. Thank you from my side to sir. Thank you, sir, from Asian College of Teachers. It has been a wonderful learning. This is Shaunak signing off from Asian College of Teachers. Sir, stay safe, stay happy, and to all of us, let
Yeah,
us
thank
stay
you,
safe.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.